All right, it's been a cold snap here the last 24 hours here in Fayetteville, West Virginia. So our design temperature is 11 degrees, which means that we only spend 1% of the year below that temperature. And that's actually a 30-year average. It's probably higher than that now, although we definitely get a couple of nights a year that are in that range. So last night, December 3rd, was one of those. And because we have four houses with heat pumps here, actually five when you include our rental camper, I thought I'd do a pretty quick video and just show what has happened because everybody got into resistance in the past 24 hours. So this is the last 24 hours of temperature data, and it's actually a little bit higher than what it is here. Like it's in the mountains, things are weird. So at our house, it was 13 degrees this morning when I woke up at 7, and it's showing 20 here, or I guess 18 here. Uh, so it definitely will vary what's going on. But it was 13 according to the outdoor unit of my heat pump this morning. And again, design temperature is 11. So not quite design temperatures, but really, really close. So we'll just look at these various things. Lucky Penny, this is our little camper Airbnb that's next door. It's got a 1 ton heat pump on it. And actually, let me change this to day. So this is what it has used as of 3:52 Eastern. Um, and so I turned the space heater on in this yesterday because the heat pump does a pretty good job, but it's nice to give it a little bit of help. And so I worry that should there be some error on the heat pump and it shuts off, I don't want the thing to freeze. So I plug in a space heater and set it at a low temperature and let it rip. And it was occupied last night too. So if I click the heat pump on that, it will show you what it's using per hour. It's roughly 1,000 watts or 1 kilowatt hour um, per ton, and this has a 1 ton unit. So it was running pretty close to flat out, although that unit will pull more than 1,000 watts. It's a mini split. So just gives you an idea. It's been working pretty hard over the last 24 hours because again, this past temperature is definitely um, warmer than what I was feeling because as we pulled out yesterday of doing roller skating at a nearby community center, it was 21, I think. So it was already quite a bit colder than that. Do all right. Let's go look at the energy monitor from another one. So that's the penny. Then we have two very similar houses, the Game House and the Wizard House. They're Airbnbs. So Wizard is Harry Potter themed, Game House is board game themed. They both have 1.5 ton Daikin fits. Um, and so see heat pump here to use 17 kilowatt hours. So it's running pretty hard right now. And then AHU is the air handler, and that includes the resistance backup. So if I click this for the Wizard House, this is a tiny little house. It's 672 square feet. Got crummy wall insulation, crummy attic insulation. I did a good job on the basement. Um, but you can see that it was using some resistance. So 2 in the morning, it used 1.5 kilowatt hours for that hour. This is not a big deal. It could use as much as 5 kilowatt hours. It's a 5 kW backup strip. That's what I have in all of our houses right now. And then let's look at the heat pump. So this will max out, it'll pull about 2,000 watts, so it'll use 2 kW in an hour, 2 kilowatts in an hour, um, 2 kilowatt hours. So it's been working pretty hard going back. So this hour in particular was at 7 a.m. this morning, almost 1.5. So it was running pretty close to full song at that point. And then what was it, like 1 in the morning, it used 1.3 kilowatt hours plus another 1.3 of resistance. Resistance kicks in when it sees that it's not quite um, keeping up. And house is unoccupied last night. All right, game house, air handler. So the game house, for whatever reason, I flip dip switches on it, and it tends to run the resistance harder than it runs the heat pump. So see over here where it used 13 for the heat pump, but 15 for the resistance. I don't understand why. Resistance or just air handler. So 5 in the morning, it used 3 kilowatt hours. The load on this house is actually about this. It's a little bit less than the Wizard House next door. It's a little bit larger place, and it has an above ground um, basement slash garage. So it's 1,600 square feet that I'm trying to heat, but 800 of it is the garage, which is not quite heated to full temperature. But still, it's interesting that it's pulling quite a bit of resistance. So that's running about half the time. Maximum is 5 kilowatt hours in a month, or sorry, in an hour that it's capable of. And let's look at what the heat pump is doing. Yeah, so it's only running about 1 ton worth of heat pump, even though it's got 1.5, and actually with a cold climate, it'll pull like it's a 2 tonner. It'll pull 2,000 watts. So one of these days, I need to go play with the dip switches in that unit and see if I can make that better. So again, Game and Wizard, same 1.5 ton Daikin Fit heat pump. Lucky Penny is a 1 ton mini split with a ceiling cassette. Moth Manor, this has a 2 ton Carrier Infinity regular one that doesn't, it's not a cold climate one. And yeah, it definitely got into resistance there. So let's see, the heat pump. This is basically flat out. That unit will only pull about 1,600 watts running full song. And when it does a defrost cycle, you're not quite going to get all the way to the 1.6. So 1.5 an hour is about what you get. And if it needs more than that, it's got this actually, sorry, I take it back. It's not 5 kW. This has a 369 3-stage backup strip in it. So actually, let's go see what it's running on that. And this is, by the way, it's another little house. It's 620 square feet, but it does have a finished and fully conditioned basement. That's the same size, so it's 1,200 square feet. And this is the air handler. So the resistance has been pulling a little bit. So like if I go back over here to where there's no resistance, this is what just the fan is using, which is almost nothing per hour. So there's a bunch of numbers kind of in that range. So a few hundredths of a kilowatt hour. And then we get to where we're running 1.7, 1.6. So this is what it looks like. I could put bigger units in this. We could insulate them better. Like there's different options to deal with this, but this is a good choice for the climate here. It's a little bit warmer than Cleveland, where I've spent the first 40 summers of my life. And then the last one I'll look at is our house, which is Mountain Escape. And yeah, look, it's used a bunch. So the heat pump has been running pretty hard, 30 kilowatt hours. So this is 2.5 kilowatt hours. It means it's been running about 2.5 tons. It's a 3-ton unit. So it can only pull a little over 3,000 watts. So that's running pretty much flat out. Now, part of this is my own darn fault that I actually have it using a setback. Yes, it's not best to use these. I should probably turn it off when it gets this cold. But I have it set to dial back to 68 or 69 degrees at night and then go 71 during the day. So you can see the 6 a.m. hour, 7 a.m. is when time of use kicks on and electricity gets 10 times as expensive. You can see it was running pretty hard these 3 hours, pulling it up temperature wise, and then less usage for a couple of hours. It's still cold, so then it needed to kick on to catch up. And then we'll look at the air handler. So it used a little bit of resistance. It's actually not bad at all compared to the game house, for instance. But the game house is, I need to play with the commissioning. I'm not totally happy with where that is. But here we are, it's used a little over 3 kWh at 6 this morning, which is fine because this is 4 cents kilowatt-hours. This is actually where there's challenges in rate design. This is going to be really hard on the grid right here, but I am incentivized to use as much power as I can right before 7 in the morning. So shows you where rate design can definitely move things around. But those are our 5 houses. And hopefully this is at least somewhat helpful. And you can see I'm watching some other things too. Like actually, my shop, this has the camper running on it. So I've got a resistance. I just have a space heater in our camper because I didn't winterize it yet. So it's pulling a decent chunk of electricity, keeping that warm. And that's enough blabbing for the moment. So I'm Nate Adams, Nate the House Whisperer, and hopefully this helps just give you an idea of what it looks like when heat pumps are running on a very cold day, or relatively cold, really. But I'm used to doing these in Cleveland. They'll run just fine to colder temperatures. These are little houses with just okay building shells compared to what I normally do, and they're not that bad. So it'll be an expensive couple of days while it's cold, and then we'll go back to very low cost for keeping all these houses warm. Have a great day. Talk to you soon. Bye.